Please remain standing as the Fort Lee Non-Commissioned Officers Academy presents our nation's colors. Here to offer tonight's invocation is Pastor Joe Ellison Jr., Senior Pastor of City Park Church in Henrico, Virginia.
Let us pray, NASCAR fans. Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we just want to thank you for a beautiful night that you have given us. We thank you for this honor and this privilege to celebrate this sport we love so much, NASCAR. God, we ask you to protect each and every driver. Thank you for allowing them to come here safely. We thank you for your safe mercies all weekend. Lord, we thank you for our brave men and women who serve in our military across the world and across the country. Lord, we ask you to bless them. And Lord, let us not forget the brave men and women who perished in 9/11. Let us remember their families. But most of all, God, we thank you for this country. We love America. In Jesus' name we pray. Let all of God NASCAR fans say amen.
Here tonight to honor America with their performance of our national anthem, please welcome the St. Gertrude's High School Honors Ensemble.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
If you have never been to the fall event here at Richmond International Raceway, I couldn't encourage you more strongly. There is something truly special about these two nights. We're ready to go racing when we come back.
laps to make the chase.
20 years in the sport, his first win at Darlington.
I've been wanting to win here for a long time, boy.
I just threw it away trying to make too much happen too quick.
Oh, the frustration inside the race car.
There's a race within a race for this chase grid.
Big chase implications in the 11.
From the first impact, all I thought was points.
It's a big move for the 51, currently outside of the chase.
Ross Chastain was running 14th, and look at the side of that car.
Oh, the pressure to make the NASCAR Xfinity Series first ever chase. For those who are already in and confirmed, there's a feeling of comfort. But Kelly Stavist, for those who are trying to make it, that horrible feeling in the pit of their stomach, the pressure is on.
And Lee, it's Ryan Sieg who holds that 12th and final spot in the chase with an 18-point cushion, but maintaining that gap won't be easy. He's starting 19th after what he called driver error in qualifying, and those guys trying to take his spot all have several positions ahead of him. He admits he hasn't come to grips with this track. He'll have to do that tonight to get his spot in the chase. Dave Burns.
Kelly, Dakota Armstrong is right behind Ryan Sieg, and he sees this as his opportunity to pounce. He qualified 9th. He knows that this track is better for him than next week. Dakota hopes to hold his position or improve all night long. Mike Massaro.
Dave, the rise of the 11 team has been absolutely remarkable. Back in January, this team didn't even exist. Now, just a few months later, Blake Cook could be just a couple of races away from qualifying for the playoffs. Cook qualified a season-best 5th and told me just moments ago, we just need to be conservative, take care of this car, and we'll be okay for the chase. Marty?
Mike, Jeremy Clements is just 26 points outside of the chase currently, and he told me a moment ago, I fully believe we can make it in. Tonight, we have a top 10 car, and that will put us in position at Chicago to make the chase. It would be amazing if this team with 4 full-time employees can make the chase in its first year. Time for the command to get the engines cranked up here at Richmond.
Race fans, it's time for the most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command to start the engines, please welcome tonight's Grand Marshals from Able Advocates, Catherine Beck and Natalie Beck.
Start your engines.
Engines fired, drivers focused, 250 laps ahead under the lights here in Richmond. When you've been in this sport as long as Elliott Sadler has, to win at Darlington for the first time is something that is super special, and it is something that is definitely not lost. on this likable veteran. What a win that was last weekend for Elliott Sadler. He is well and truly locked into the chase for the Xfinity Series for those final 7 races. That's coming up after the next 2. Well, let's take a look at how they'll line up tonight here at Richmond. And he was kind of surprised himself. Austin Dillon was thrilled. He was pumped to get his first Xfinity pole of the season. And he will start alongside Alex Bowman, who gets his best ever Richmond start.
Well, in row 2, Eric Jones is used to starting up front. Justin Allgaier's finished second 3 times this year. Can he get that win tonight?
And then in row 3, we have Blake Cook. This is his best start of 2016, starting next to 3-time Richmond winner Brad Keselowski, but surprisingly yet to win in the 2016 season.
How about back on the 4th row, Kyle Busch, a 5-time Richmond Xfinity Series winner. And he's had 7 victories this year alone. He'll start alongside the man we were just talking about, Elliott Sadler.
Back in row 5, how about Dakota Armstrong sitting there, 18 points from that coveted 12th spot. Can he get the job done tonight to move closer to that and be a part of the chase?
Row 6, we have 18-year-old Gray Galding making only his 2nd Xfinity Series start. His first was earlier at Bristol, next to Jeremy Clements.
As we roll back to row 7 and we say welcome back to Jeb Burton. This is his first NASCAR Xfinity Series start since Indianapolis. That was back in July, and Darrell Wallace Jr. is alongside him.
Yeah, here in row 8, teammates Ross Chastain, Ryan Preece. Preece finished 10th last week at Darlington. Great run for him.
Yeah, and then in row 9, we have Ryan Reed and Ty Dillon. Ty Dillon on a little bit of a short track hot streak, finished 2nd in 3 of the last 4 short track races.
Kelly told us a little earlier the pressure surrounding the 39 of Ryan Sieg. He starts on the 10th row, along with Brendan Gaughan, who will openly admit this is not one of his best tracks, but we'll see what tonight can yield. We'll continue to roll through the remainder of this 40-car Xfinity Series field for you here at Richmond International Raceway. And while we look at that, DJ, who are you going to check in with tonight?
Yeah, let's see if we can dial up Elliott Sadler here. Elliott, Dale Jarrett, NBC booth. You got it?
They don't have lights on yet on the pace car. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, Elliott. Hey, man, great win last week. We talked about it all week. I know you always wanted to win at Darlington. At another racetrack tonight where you haven't won close to home, what are your chances here, bud?
Well, I think we got a great chance again. Kevin and the guys and everybody at Junior Motorsports is giving me another good race car. Definitely got a lot of momentum last week. Get a win there for One Main Financial and that old throwback paint scheme. We had great pit stops. We're going to have those again tonight. DJ, I'd love to win here. We got a lot of family and friends here. We're going to try to go out there and give it our best shot.
All right, let's go get this for Mama Bell. Good luck tonight, bud.
All right, man. She's here with us tonight at the track, so that'll be a great feat if we can be able to do that.
Riding a wonderful wave of momentum at the moment is Elliott Sadler, and Hardy's brings us this in-car camera aboard the One Junior Motorsports machine. And we'll be checking in with Elliott throughout the race. Advanced Auto Parts supplies us this view of Daniel Suarez aboard the 19 JGR Toyota. And we've got a couple more for you as well. Darrell Wallace Jr. gives us this view with thanks to Ford. What can Bubba do? He's already in the chase, but would like a good result tonight, and so too. He's got some catching up to do. I'm talking about Ty Dillon, and this is the Chevy in-car camera with the RCR driver. Qualifying did not quite go to plan for Ty, and we'd like to say thanks to Smithfield Foods because they're providing our aerial coverage tonight. And what wonderful partners they are to give us this view of Richmond International under the lights. All right, Steve, let's check in with our race facts for tonight's 25th race on this 33-race schedule.
Yeah, Richmond International Raceway. The race length of 250 laps, just a little over 187 miles. Pit road speed will be 40 miles an hour. That fuel window, that seems long, 110 to 120 laps. They can run that far in Sunoco fuel, but I'm not sure they want to run that far on those Goodyear tires.
Yeah, drivers are going to be wanting some tires for that. And it's going to be interesting to see here tonight. Are we going to see 2 and maybe 3 grooves work out to where this can get side by side throughout a lot of the night?
Pre-race radio. Let's check in with the 22.
All right, so what I told him was, like caution, saving tires here, Xfinity Series, this place uses them up. So before 20, caution before 20 is probably a stay. After 30 is definitely a come. 20 to 30 is a game time decision.
Right on what you were talking about, DJ.
Drivers love new tires here.
Getting ready to race under the lights in Richmond. Just 2 races left in the regular season. Austin Dillon on the pole. It's time to bring the action. Justin Allgaier with a nice jump up to second. Alex Bowman relegated to third early on. Bowman and Jones side by side through 3 and 4.
Restarts are difficult every week, Lee. But here at Richmond, when you talk about tire life, tire conservation, it's that balance. How hard you go early versus how much do you want to save your tires for late into a run.
Blake Cook, Kyle Busch. Busch with the upper hand early, making his way forward. And throughout the race, if you look at the top of the graphic on your screen, where you see green next to a driver, they're already locked into the chase. The yellow designates those who are in the 12 on points.
And the first 9 cars have gotten pretty much single file here, but after that, wow, you've got quite a few battles going on side by side. Just not wanting to give an inch. Outside's working pretty good right now.
Daniel Suarez was fighting with the 60 Gray Goulding. We ride on board Elliott Sadler, chasing down Brad Keselowski.
As we ride on board with Elliott Sadler, you see right here a big gain on the 22 through the middle of the corner. This is a classic pass we're going to see here at Richmond. Gain on the middle, try to accelerate off with the 22 and just stay far enough inside of DJ that you have the 22's forced to give Elliott Sadler the bottom entering turn 3.
Yeah, but the one thing that you really fight as a driver in trying to make that pass on the inside is that your car wants to get loose on the entry of the corner, and you have to be careful not to try to jump back into gas too soon where you break the rear tires loose.
Here comes Kyle Busch. Look at the 18 on the low line, right up there with Brad Keselowski. And this is the fight you're looking at the moment for 5th, 6th, and 7th.
And rarely, Lee, do we see Kyle Busch passing cars at lap 4 because normally he starts in the front row. But surprisingly, what I would consider a poor qualifying effort for this 18 car with Kyle Busch, we'll see if they have the speed into the long run tonight.
And Kyle Busch, after 2 very frustrating results at Watkins Glen and Bristol, is looking to rebound, and he has a history of doing that after he has 2 non-top 10 finishes. 4 out of the last 5 times that's happened, he's come back to win the race. Keep that in mind later tonight throughout this 250 lapper. Dave?
And in the practice earlier today, Lee, the 18 was not good, had some mechanical issues early on, which they got solved. And obviously qualifying wasn't good. Worst qualifying effort of the year, even though it was only 7th. And right before the race started, Chris Gale's radio didn't work well. He had to switch that out. So a number of issues to get started. But as you noted, always very good here and will be coming to the front. Marty?
I think right behind the Brad Keselowski, as crew chief Greg Irwin said, really in April when the team was here, didn't have a very good run. So we kind of had to hit a reset button on the setup for this weekend. And we changed a lot in practice. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to have. We heard the radio conversation earlier, though, talking about pit strategy. They do expect this 22 to be up front all evening long with this brand new setup.
Austin Dillon leads the way, and comfortably so, over Justin Allgaier and Eric Jones, your top 3. Who's on the move? Brennan Poole is making his way forward. He's already made up 5 spots, and Ty Dillon has jumped up 3, so good early stuff.
You look right behind our race leader, Austin Dillon, is Justin Allgaier in that 7 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. There's something about this track and Junior Motorsports. They've won 3 of the last 5 races, Lee, and all with 3 different drivers, all currently in the top 5 in this race this evening.
There's Alex Bowman taking over spot from Eric Jones for that 3rd spot. We saw Justin Allgaier was closing in on Austin Dillon for the lead. Justin Allgaier had a chance to win the race here in the spring, was the leader late and got turned on a restart. So he was looking that this might be his opportunity to get some bonus points as he moves into the chase.
The 28 of Dakota Armstrong. And you may be familiar with the story that is 6 drivers are vying for 3 spots to make those final 3 spots in the NASCAR Xfinity Series chase. And Dakota Armstrong's right in the middle of that, Dave.
And Lee, you saw that confidence in this young driver as he passed the 11 of Blake Cook, one of the guys he wants to make sure he is ahead of at the end. But that confidence for Dakota Armstrong really came earlier this year when he ran a Joe Gibbs Racing car at Iowa. Remember that day he was substituting for Matt Tiff. He started third, he finished fifth. He runs Joe Gibbs Racing motors in this car. All kinds of confidence coming in on this short track for Dakota.
Race leader, Austin Dillon. Might think back to Bristol when Dillon and Allgaier finished 1-2. That's where they run right now. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. Toyota, let's go places. And by XFINITY, change the way you experience TV with XFINITY X1. As we welcome you back to the NASCAR XFINITY Series, the Virginia 529 College Savings 250. And it is Austin Dillon who's coming under increasing pressure, Steve, from Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, absolutely. The 7, the 2 of Austin Dillon has caught a little bit of lap traffic. He's actually done a very good job, I think, about picking and choosing the spots, DJ, on where to pass him. But it's just like either they fight the leader a little harder or the 7 of Justin Allgaier is just a little quicker as they catch traffic.
Yeah, he's been able to maneuver, but I think it's probably more catching him at better places, and certainly that doesn't slow his momentum down. So I think Justin Allgaier doing a nice job there, just kind of keeping the pace right now, maybe putting the pressure and think that if he can pressure Austin Dillon a little bit, he'll burn the tires up a little bit quicker, and then it'll be a little easier to pass him.
You mentioned that Bristol race, Lee. This is a much different race already for Austin Dillon. That race he won at Bristol, he led only the final lap. So this is a big difference, out early leading the first 21 laps.
What do you got on the 2, Marty?
Well, Jeff, you mentioned it earlier. He was kind of shocked. He won the pole of all places at Richmond, a track where he doesn't feel like he's very good, but this experience is very key for him in the Xfinity Series race, especially up front leading laps. I was talking to his Sprint Cup Series crew chief, Slugger Labby, about that actually last week. He said, I like it when Austin runs the Xfinity Series races. It gets him in a rhythm. It gets him in the mode to run the race the next day for the Sprint Cup Series, certainly helping him leading laps here early at Richmond. Mike?
Well, Marty, as Steve mentioned a little while ago, Justin Allgaier, lots of confidence because he knows what Junior Motorsports has brought to Richmond in the past. Just because of that, though, doesn't mean he's going to rest on his laurels. He went to work this week, studied some tapes, compared the fall races to the spring races, and what he learned was that in the fall races, it seems like the racing's much more aggressive. He told me today he feels like he needs to be much more guarded entering the corners, like you just saw there, in order to protect his position and advance. He's going to continue to move toward the front throughout the course of the night. He keeps making moves like that.
Oh, boy, you should see what just went down about 3/4 of a lap ago between the 48 of Brennan Poole and the 44 of J.J. Yaley. check this out.
Yeah, Brendan Poole trying to make the pass on the inside, but just carries so much speed in there. Gets loose. I have no idea how these two cars didn't wreck, but they continued on, and they're still passing cars.
Hey guys, just to go back to a point that Marty raised there in that pit report regarding race leader Austin Dillon and what Slugger Labby had said about doing the Xfinity Series races and then the next day following up with the Cup race. What do you think this is going to do, keeping in mind the big picture of where Austin is in the Sprint Cup chase, and tomorrow night being the last regular season race? He's in on points at the moment, but a good race tonight correlates to a good race tomorrow?
Well, I think momentum absolutely helps a race car driver with his confidence, but I think we've talked about this, DJ. The groove's going to move around, and I think you don't have that opportunity in practice league to move to the middle and to the top. You watch this 62 of Brendan Gaughan. He's nowhere near what we've seen these cars running in practice, DJ. He's way up the second, almost the third line, and I think that's the advantage of running both races, to have a chance tonight to try these lines.
Yeah, there's no doubt that it helps when you can get in that situation.
Brendan Gaughan is not a happy driver out there. Have a listen to this.
Power and tight middle, loose as hell off. Try and back up your entry just a little bit. Make it roll slower. That'll help you. What do we do? Back off the start finish line? That works great. Oh my God, it's awful. Hang in there, man. We didn't change anything from practice. We did the air pressure and a little bit of wedge and track bar. We added qualifying. Try to get through it.
Yeah, they didn't change anything from practice, but practice was at 8 a.m. this morning, and a lot of other things have changed, Lee. This is a completely different racetrack. The sun has set. We've had a lot of practice. Just you look at the racetrack through the corners, there's rubber down. So while they are trying to explain to their driver, hey, we didn't make big changes, I'm sure the track has gone through major changes. Kelly?
Steve, this track has just about been the bane of Brendan Gaughan's existence. He does not like racing here because he hasn't had any luck. He said even when they have a good run going, something inevitably goes wrong. In fact, when he had a good run this morning in practice, he basically just said, I'm just waiting for the other foot to drop. Something bad is definitely going to happen. Even last week in Darlington, he was joking with me that he felt the flu coming on and to be prepared for a driver change in this one. That's how much he dislikes this place.
He's never had a top 5 here, Kel. 7th is his best result, and he's only achieved that once. So it's one of those tracks that just does not gel with Brendan Gaughan. And that was pretty good of Stevie to mention at 8 a.m. this morning there was a practice. You and I were here, DJ.
Didn't see Steve.
Didn't see Steve.
Well,
he was down in the garage area.
That's right.
He was getting information for us.
That's right. We mentioned about different lines. What's this 18 of Kyle Busch? I'm impressed. He's actually wasn't as good as the one at Elliott Sadler a few laps ago, but he's kind of searched around, moved up the racetrack, and the advantage of the top is right here. Corner exit. It seems like that 18 really gets a run off that second lane.
Yeah, he's making the straightaway longer by doing, and now he goes to the bottom because Elliott Sadler saw what was happening, so he moved up to kind of block that or to see exactly how well that might work. Not the time to Elliott to be racing or holding up. Right here's a learning process that you can see because this 18 has found something and he's faster. But this allows him, with these cars having less horsepower, if you can roll through the center a little bit faster, get back to the gas harder, then you make that straightaway longer, and that only equals more speed.
And you remember this morning, DJ, when the track was pretty green, it wasn't really rubbered in. Kyle was one of the first to try those different lines, to try that higher groove, to see how it would work in preparation for tonight's race. Austin Dillon continues to lead the way. It's been that way since the green. Did you know you can get your NASCAR coverage when you're on the go with NASCAR Mobile, the official app of NASCAR, puts race coverage and live in-car cameras at your fingertips. As part of Fan Appreciation Weekend, get access to all the premium features for free this weekend only. Download now at nascar.com/mobile. As we welcome you back to Richmond, 1 and 2, cars 2 and 7, Austin Dillon, Justin Allgaier, and it has been pretty much that way right from the drop of the green, as we now see racing lap 41 of 250, and it has been green the entire way. Right now, it's time to go through the field, and we start with Marty Snyder.
Lee, 41 laps just in the books. Austin Dillon has led every single one of them. He hasn't said a word on the radio, clearly happy with that number 2 car. And he and his crew chief, Justin Alexander, have worked together for exactly one race. That one race, Bristol. They won that race. They are undefeated, trying to make it 2 in a row, Mike.
42, nearly 43 laps now in the books, Marty, and they've all been caution-free. This is exactly what Justin Allgaier and the 17 was expecting and were hoping for. They were set up for a long run. Allgaier told me this morning, he said, long runs here in Richmond are so different than anywhere else with the tire wear, how you have to manage the race, and they were prepared for it. Right now, just a little bit too much rear tire spin off the corner. Marty?
Mike Alex Bowman back in the 3rd position. He said the car's a little bit free everywhere. He told me earlier today, is in a 3-wide battle right there. He told me earlier today he has a ton of confidence in this race car. Same exact race car Dale Earnhardt Jr. won with here in the spring. Another thing that gives him confidence, the fact that Dale Jr. Motorsports has won a race at Richmond for 3 straight years. A lot of confidence behind the wheel of that 88, Dave.
Marty, before I caught up with Kyle Busch's crew chief Chris Gale today, I missed him a few times. That's because he was over in the Sprint Cup garage. Good reason for that. This week it was announced that Chris Gale will be the crew chief on Eric Jones's 2nd ride with Furniture Row Racing next year, the 77 car. So he's been spending time over in the garage with the Furniture Row guys, spending time out in Denver, trying to get himself ready for next year. Kelly?
Veteran Elliott Sadler coming off one of the biggest wins of his career at Darlington. Well, this team treated that race like it was a chase race. From the car that they brought, the mentality they had as a team, and the way they went through the weekend was essentially a rehearsal for the chase, and boy, did it pay dividends tonight. They said they just want to come out and have fun, see what the night gives them. Right now, after jumping up from 8th to 5th, Elliott in conserve mode.
It's early, man. Smart move. Take care of it.
Now, his crew chief just telling him, ride wherever you need to save that right rear. Just cruise. Marty?
Kelly, earlier today, Eric Jones told me, man, it's been a frustrating few weeks. We've had the bad finishes at the road courses, the wreck at Bristol, and then Darlington. I'd never seen Darlington before last week. He said, I honestly feel like we can turn it around here. Right now, Eric Jones in the 6th position said the car is too tight in the center, and that's hurting his drive off. Right behind him, Brad Keselowski, who got passed by Eric Jones a little bit earlier. Keselowski heard a comment from the spotter, Joey Meyer, about his brakes. Here's what he had to say.
Do you see any brake temperature? There is a little bit. Very hard to see with the white wheel, but everyone in front has red left front rotor. All right, would you say we're equal, less, or more than them? I'll say less.
So the 22 team feeling pretty good about their brakes. Now, Brad has not raced at Richmond in the Xfinity Series since 2013. That year, he swept both races. Caution on the track.
Justin Marks in the Chip Ganassi Racing entry. The winner at Mid-Ohio brings out the first caution in this race.
Your left sides are still up. Just get back in line there.
48 green flag laps of racing comes to an end now. Let's see if we can decipher what happened to Justin Marks.
Ooh. Oh, might have got a little bit of a tap right there. But it's hard to tell from that angle. Could have just been, that's a place that it's easy for your car to get loose as you've powered up off the exit of the corner. Nope, there's contact.
AJ Yaley getting into that left.
See that wrinkle up right there, and as I said, the car's already light there. You get any help and it's going to send you around. Did a good job of not tearing anything up there, though. You'll come in, get some tires, make a few adjustments, go back at it.
Justin was running in 25th, which is exactly where he qualified. He narrowly missed out on making that initial cut through to the top 24 in qualifying. I was talking with Justin earlier today, guys, and he said, look, I spent a lot of time in that 2-hour practice session just trying to learn how to drive Richmond properly so I could give my crew chief and my engineers the proper feedback to make the car right. He said, I put a lot out of myself. I've got to learn to drive this track properly, and I don't have a lot of experience here.
Yeah, and that's just a tough thing to do. This is a tough racetrack. I mean, it's a short track, and these drivers all grew up racing and honing their skills on short tracks, but nothing like what this is. It's high speeds and tight corners, and that makes it very difficult, especially when you're coming here trying to get it done. The first practice, there was no rubber on the track. The track continued to change throughout those 2 hours, and now he's looking at a completely different track than what he encountered earlier today.
Jeb Burton in the 98 Biaggi Den Best Racing machine gets the free pass. And boy, I tell you what, speaking with Jeb earlier today, is he excited to be back behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah, really looking forward to some opportunities possible coming his way here for the rest of this year.
Here we go. Pit road comes alive. We start with Dave Burns. Dave?
Kyle Busch gives up 4th position to come down pit road for 4 Goodyear tires and a full fill of Sunoco fuel. His car was loose at the beginning of the run. He still doesn't have the back end where he needs it. Chassis adjustment as well. Mike?
Justin Allgaier started the day 3rd, moved up 1 position, running runner-up right now. He pits with a car that's loose in, tight off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment along with Sunoco race fuel and 4 tires. Marty?
Mike, bottom left of your screen, Alex Bowman said in the last few laps he actually picked up a brake shake, but it comes and goes depending on where he is in traffic. Free everywhere. He needs rear grip. Austin Dillon, bottom right of your corner of your screen. He said his car's a little bit loose into one. Sometimes, not all the times, Kyle Busch will win the race off pit road. The lead.
Yes, the race off pit road brought to you by Geico shows the 18 jumping a significant 3 positions to take that top spot. Back to Richmond in a moment. It is a huge fan appreciation weekend this weekend for NASCAR racing Xfinity fans, for Sprint Cup fans, everybody giving back to the most important group, the fan base, NASCAR fans. Rutledge Wood has more on that, Rut.
You see Brendan going down there hugging a race fan, but tomorrow right here on the front stretch is a huge fan appreciation party. Season ticket holders get in at 1 o'clock. Anyone with a ticket is welcome tomorrow, 2 to 3:30. They got tons of drivers, tons of activities. It's all about thanking the fans. And all the fans at home even have a chance to win. They can use the hashtag #ThanksFans to see how they can win something here from Richmond. Lee?
Good stuff. Thank you, Rut. Hey, speaking of this most recent round of stops, the first round of stops, the race leader at the time had problems. Listen to the radio from the 2.
About that, man. We'll take care of it. You just stay focused out there, man. You got a better car than all them guys. Hey, guys. We'll get it back. Tell me if you need help or anything. Me getting in the box, getting the wheel right. Just let me know.
I really like Austin's, comments on the radio there. What he's asking, and it's legitimate, is, hey, make sure I'm not doing something wrong. These fender openings are not, as you see the pit road comparison between Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon. Obviously, it was all done, it seems to be, in the pit box. But that too, Marty, he just wanted to make sure that he was on his sign, on his marks. The wheel didn't need to be turned, making sure he helped his pit crew as much as possible.
And Mr. Crew Chief, you like that coming from the driver, don't you? In Austin, what wound up happening was they hung a lug nut on the right front. That is his Sprint Cup Series pit crew, so they'll get their act together before the end of the evening. But that is what happened and why he lost those spots.
And that's a really different approach up and down pit road. Joe Gibbs uses their Cup crews. RCR uses their Cup crews. We see Junior Motorsports with some Cup crews. But Penske chooses to groom young talent. They have Xfinity only pit crews.
Ready to get back to racing in the restart zone. Kyle Busch, the new race leader. Let's get back to it in Richmond, under the lights. And look at Austin Dillon, aggressive on that restart, looking on an inside line on Alex Bowman. Couldn't get it done.
Well, no, but he sure was looking. He thought that he had enough momentum, but just wasn't able to stick it there. Did a good job of making the right decision at this point in time of the race. A later restart, yeah, you might try to stick your car in that spot.
Justin Allgaier in the 7. Red car, second place, has been there all race long. The orange Aris machine from JGR of Daniel Suarez in the 19, looking to make ground. And speaking of making ground, let's give credit to Brennan Poole, who stayed on the lead lap and made up a whopping 12 positions in that opening 48-lap green stint.
Yeah, he was really solid there. We saw him get really loose at one time. Made a great save down in turn 3 and 4, but did a nice job of being able to stay on the lead lap. Let's see how he can maneuver now that the cars are going to be a little tougher to pass.
And he had a crash that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's right. Always a good thing.
Kel?
Yeah, after that disappointing qualifying of 31st, the team told Brendan Poole at the start of this, hey, go out there and put a school on for these guys. Have no patience. Go to the front as fast as you can to avoid trouble later. And as you said it, boy, did he do it, gaining 12 spots before that caution came out. Brendan said, though, at the end, he had lost front grip, so the team brought him in, made a track bar adjustment to help him out.
Brendan Poole ran part-time last year, and I really think that the full-time Xfinity schedule this year has helped this young man show up being prepared. You mentioned Justin Marks, who runs part-time in the other Chip Ganassi entry, how it took him practice time to get used to that car. Brendan Poole said that the consistency has helped him show up to the racetrack, but Brendan, he's so close. He runs in that 5th to 15th position. I'm waiting for him to have that breakthrough race, that one race that we all can hang our hat on where he goes out, leads lap. He doesn't even have to win, DJ. Just contend for a win is what I think we're looking for out of this young man.
Yeah, and we're seeing just solid progress, I think, week in and week out. And is that progress going to be enough to get him through a round or maybe even 2 rounds to battle for a championship? You just never know about these young drivers and what they may be experiencing.
And the driver of the 48 has finished in the top 10 5 of the last 6 races. And I want you to think about this for next weekend, folks, when Sprint Cup Series racing and Xfinity racing goes to Chicagoland, IndyCar goes to Sonoma, there's World Endurance and IMSA sports car racing at Circuit of the Americas, and there is also Red Bull Global Rallycross. Chip Ganassi Racing not only has teams and drivers in every one of those series, but has won in every one of those series. It has been an unbelievable performance this year from Chip and all of his team and his management team and his staff and his drivers. And here we see one of his young chargers, the 25-year-old Texan Brennan Poole, really starting to make his way through this field.
When you talk about teams, and it takes a team to run in all those series, well, it's a team sport because look at the 2 of Austin Dillon. Easily led the opening 51 laps, has a little bit of a slower pit stop, and now he hears mired back in the 4th position, just can't seem to move back to the front. And people always ask, why is that? We want cars to be able to pass. Well, remember, it's not easy. He probably can be better than the group in front of him, but he has to be not only faster than them, but faster than them enough to get out of the preferred line and try to make a pass.
Yeah, where you may be fast may not be the place that you need to be fast to make a pass that you're talking about. So that's all the difference in the world. If you're out front, you don't have that hampering you at that point in time. So much more difficult.
Now he has Eric Jones hampering him off his rear bumper because Eric Jones is just waiting for this 2 to slip up and make a mistake.
Yeah, and his teammate there, Daniel Suarez, who had a good run in that first run. They had a good pit stop there. Very solid here coming towards the front.
With 3 wins on the season for the driver of the 20, he is well and truly locked into the Xfinity Series' first ever chase. But DJ, how important is it for Eric Jones to kind of steady the ship and get a good result here tonight, given what's happened to him? And you documented it earlier in the broadcast, what's happened to him over the last 5 or so races.
Yeah, extremely important to get this going back in the right direction. He was the talk of everybody about this series. He came out and got those 3 wins and said, you know, he's just the championship favorite. Nobody can beat him for this championship. But we've seen them be a little bit vulnerable here now. And certainly part of that was being on the road courses. He said that himself. But now he needs to get things headed in the right direction, get through these next 2 races with good solid runs, and be ready at Kentucky, a place that he almost won against the Cup regulars. And that's going to be their first race of the chase, and probably no Sprint Cup drivers and regulars being a part of that since it's a split weekend.
Riding on board, Joe Gibbs Racing's Daniel Suarez as he tries to do something about Austin Dillon up ahead. Here is chase contender Dakota Armstrong, and Dave has more on him.
Lee, he runs furthest forward of the bubble drivers, and we overheard this during caution.
Been trying to stay quiet here on the radio. If you need lap times or something, just let me know. Or once we get a space like that again, you can go ahead and breathe to me. Once we get kind of open with her. Or like I said, I'm just trying to stay quiet. And honestly, there wasn't much I could do to help you, pal. He's doing a damn good job. 10-4.
And then right before green, they reminded him, stay aggressive. Well, on that restart, he maybe wasn't aggressive enough. He restarted 8th, he fell back to 11th, but he's still, again, running furthest forward of the bubble drivers. Mike?
Dave, and talking of bubble drivers, Blake Cook, certainly one of them. These next 2 races are huge for him. Remember, he's really never been in this position before. That's why his crew chief, Chris Rice, says he's trying to keep the pressure off his young driver. So much to the fact that he's trying to keep things light. He actually offered a little bit of a bet, a side wager this week on a fantasy football match between him and Blake. Whoever wins makes the other one run through the shop in a Speedo. So they're just trying to keep it a little bit light. They're trying to keep the pressure off of Blake. Right now, he's running inside the top 15 where he wanted to be tonight. That's his expectation. Just a little bit too loose. Kelly?
Ryan Sieg started the night in the 12th spot in the chase standings with an 18-point lead, but at one point, that points lead was cut to just 8 points because of where he ran in comparison to Dakota Armstrong. I asked Ryan how aware he was of those other chase contenders, where they ran around him in the race. He said, very aware. The team is constantly reminding me. Well, he finally went on the move. He's gained several positions. That points lead now back to 15 to the positive. And Ryan saying he's a little loose, but not bad at all, Mike.
Kelly, Jeremy Clements outside the cutoff line, 14th in the standings right now, and he looks at the road course races they went through in August as being part of the problem. Did not have good finishes in those. However, relative to his competition, didn't do too bad. Actually only lost 2 points to the competition. Still needs to make up 26 points, though, in these next 2 regular season races. Right now doesn't have a great race car. They're going to have to tune on it. Loose in, tight center. Lee?
He was able to get by Ryan Preece there. You may have noticed on the left-hand side of your screen. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch has almost a 3-second lead. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. And a quick reminder that you can watch every Xfinity Series race with the NBC Sports app and get closer with additional camera angles, driver stats, and track information. It's available on mobile, tablet, and connected TVs too. Download the app and find out more at nbcsports.com/live. Great to have you with us tonight. Lee Diffie along with Dale Jarrett, Steve Letarte for the 25th race this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Kyle Busch is the race leader. I'm sure you're not surprised about that. However, Steve, it wasn't the case in the early running of this race.
Yeah, you know, we talked about it at the start of this race that Kyle Busch had a little bit subpar qualifying effort for him in this 18 team. And the entire first 50 laps, the whole field had him trapped. He was inside the top 5, but not leading, not dominating the race. Pit stops happen. He gains 3 positions from 3rd to the lead. And here he is, or from, excuse me, 4th to lead. And here he is out there with almost a 5-second lead. It just proves, DJ, that you have to try to keep a team like this 18 down when you have them pinned.
Yeah, you have to try to do that, and it shows that what a team sport this really is. We talk about what a great driver Kyle Busch is, the winningest ever in this series, but it takes that team effort. These were cars that he didn't have to pass. His pit crew did an outstanding job. He did his job getting on and off of pit road, resulting in the lead. Now he's got a big lead out there, Dave.
And DJ, they worked on that race car. Track bar adjustment helped it quite a bit. It was fine. He didn't say a thing about it until the lap 20 mark into this run when he reported that it was a little bit tight. But even so, a 2-second lead for Kyle.
Let's check in with the 28 of Dakota Armstrong, who is outrunning all the other bubble drivers at the moment. However, he did have a tight moment here with Ty Dillon. Look at this.
Looks like they had a lap car they were going to try to encounter there. Dakota was trying to be maybe a little bit careful. I might have got a little bit loose and a little bit of contact from Ty Dillon.
28 will be clear. Outside. Outside corner.
And, you know, Lee, it doesn't make it fair, but as we see the chase bubble points there on the left side of the screen, Dakota Armstrong has closed it down to 15 points on Ryan Sieg. It doesn't make it fair, but when someone like Dakota Armstrong is running a little bit higher than normal, up there with the cars in the top 15, he is not going to gain the respect of those cars in race 1. They're going to race him rough. They're not going to give him as much room as they say would these two, Eric Jones and Justin Allgaier, who race around each other a lot. You're going to see a little bit cleaner racing here, and that's just part about cutting your teeth in a series. If you want to get raced a certain way, you need to be up there week in and week out, and I think then your competitors respect the speed that you have and give you a little bit more room on the racetrack. 7 of Justin Allgaier. Eric Jones in the 20. This is the battle for 2nd place. Alex Bowman is running in 4th, and then Daniel Suarez in 5th. Jones looks to the low side on Justin Allgaier, who's been incredibly consistent, but while these guys have been focused on each other, Kyle Busch is just skipping away. He is now some 4.9 seconds out in front, racing lap 89 of this 250-lap event here at Richmond International Raceway.
You're watching the Virginia 529 College Savings 250 here on your home of motorsport, NBCSN. And we ride aboard with Daniel Suarez. Well, thanks to Advanced Auto Parts aboard the JGR Toyota. And Daniel's been in the thick of things with Brad Keselowski, and he's now dueling with Alex Bowman. He's got by the 88, and now he's trying to reduce that margin to Brad, who has made some pretty quick work of two competitors.
And I love how this shows the rhythm of a race car driver, DJ. You know, he fights through the corner, gets all his focus, but then watch Daniel as he gets down the straightaway. A little bit off the corner, you're going to see him look up right there, check his mirror, reference how far back Alex Bowman is, then he knows he can focus ahead to the next corner.
Yeah, he really does. He makes this look easy. This is a tough racetrack. He was battling a little harder right before we came back from commercial and trying to make that pass on Alex Bowman. But he's working really, really well now. You see the rotors glowing a little bit, so he's using some brake to get his car slowed down, but doing a nice job here. It's funny how things have kind of switched around. In that first run, we had Junior Motorsports, 3 of their cars inside the top 5. You can see right here, a little bit close right there after he made that pass on Alex Bowman. Maybe a little bit of contact shouldn't hurt this car very much. But now we've switched around and have the 3 Joe Gibbs cars running 1, 2, and 5. So make some nice adjustments for these JGR drivers.
Well, and I think it's much like what happened to Kyle Busch and how he got the lead. The pit stops, not only is Joe Gibbs Racing have fast pit stops, but they're making good adjustments.
What do you got on the 19, Mike?
Lee, it's pretty interesting when you consider these teams tested or practiced this morning in the heat of the day. Now they're racing at night when the track temperatures are much cooler. I asked Daniel Suarez, I said, what did you get out of that practice? What did you learn that you think you can carry over? And he kind of paused there for a moment and said, this is what I think is going to happen. I think the first 100 laps or so will be mediocre. But in the second half of the race, the track is going to come to us. And if it does come to us, watch out. What lap are we on? Lap 100.
You know, Lee, I spent some time with Daniel this morning, and he said a couple things that were very interesting to me. The first, which I thought was fascinating, was to help him become more proficient in the English language, he tries to watch television. Well, he said, what's better to watch than races? So I asked how he became so good at these bigger, faster tracks, not like Richmond, but Michigan, where he got his win. How does he understand the aerodynamics? And he said, I watch races to work on my English, and I put myself in that car, and I see the moves they make and how they use the air. And I was fascinated that he did that, but he hasn't quit. He tells me every Sprint Cup race, he sits at home on the app, on an in-car camera with in-car radio in his ears, and he rides along and watches the race from that perspective to try to learn, try to absorb, ask his teammates questions. That's a young man who I think has a tremendous amount of talent, but behind that talent has a very large drive to get better. Think, he only made his debut in the Xfinity Series here back in 2014, yet he races like a veteran.
His racecraft is impressive. He's locked into the Xfinity Series chase over the final 7 races of the season. So too is Darrell Wallace Jr. in the 6th for Roush Fenway Racing. Let's ride with Bubba.
You see he's using that kind of middle groove right now. As the tires have some laps on them now, you can hear the drivers out of the throttle longer. Let's see if he stays that middle groove. Yeah, so he found that the bottom wasn't working quite as well for him. I would guess maybe his car's gone a little bit to the tight side, so he's moved up to try to let it roll a little bit more through the corner and not having to use some brake to slow the car down. He's had a nice run here. He's still in the nice spot. Looks very smooth.
So with everything that DJ has just told you at home, let's ride with Bubba and have a listen. Pretty cool stuff, isn't it? Here's Dave.
And DJ's Hall of Fame eyes caught exactly the problem that Bubba Wallace is dealing with right now. They made a big swing at it the last pit stop, pushed the spring rubber to the left rear, dropped the track bar. He said the late center exit lost its turn. That's what DJ saw. You helped everything else, but off the corner, it is tight.
Well, as we were riding along with Darrell Wallace Jr., another battle is heating up on the racetrack, and that's the battle for the chase. We see Kyle Busch, our race leader. He has about a 4-second lead. We're right in front of him, Jeremy Clements. We keep talking about this brand new this year, the chase in the Xfinity Series with Jeremy Clements, 14th in points, 28 points back, needs to have a good run. These are the type of moments that are going to make or break these next 2 races for this 51 car. Can he stay in the lead lap? Can he try to continue to get points? Because it's been documented that 28 of Armstrong currently outrunning all of those other bubble drivers.
So the 18 has a 4-second lead. But how is that car handling? Let's find out.
Open track, what do we got? I think we need a half a tenth. I think a 20's better on the backside after 25 laps by about a half a tenth to a tenth. Just get some turning the wheel through the center. The back is really good this run. The back's pretty stable.
That right there is why Kyle Busch and Chris Gale win races. Because he has a 4.2-second lead. You heard him say, open track. Look, I'm by myself. Talk to me. Where do we stand? Chris Gale, he's not sitting back smiling, applauding his driver. He's telling him, no. Eric Jones back in second. He has us a little bit better on old tires. Tell us how we need to get better. That proves how cars like this win races. They never stop working on it.
Kyle Busch has now led 58 laps of the laps run so far. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. You can select your in-car video and camera angle, access and integrated driver stats, lap-by-lap commentary and social conversation in real time. You won't miss a lap when you visit NASCAR.com/drive on your personal computer right now. So we welcome you back to our live coverage of race 25 of the NASCAR Xfinity Series for 2016. At the conclusion of this, there was just one more regular season race left before the first ever chase. Exciting times in the series. Let's check in on some recent radio.
All right, we're losing. Do we need a pit or something to try and catch these guys off guard? What's he saying, Billy? He's got something going on. He says he's losing. We need a pit or something to catch him off guard. We pit now, we're screwed, ain't we? Well, not necessarily. Not if it cycles out. All right, 10-4. If you want to take a gamble, hell, it's worth. Go for it.
I like to gamble, but I think that with 132 to go is a little early. I like what he's thinking. We can come early, but we expect the leaders to be on pit road, what, about 160 lap, 100 lap, 65, 165. that's still 40 laps away. That would be a huge gamble. While I think that would be a lot to gain, it would be a big gamble, DJ.
Yeah, it would be. That's not going to put them in a window to start with, and they're still on the lead lap. No reason to panic right yet.
Who is the biggest mover in this race? That is easy. Right there, the DC Solar Machine for Chip Ganassi Racing. It is Brennan Poole, who has made up a whopping 23 positions from 31st to 8th. This is the crash that he didn't have.
Should have had.
With
Should at
JJ
least
Yeley.
spot out.
You know, so we talked, this is Brendan Poole's 42nd Xfinity race. We've talked that we'd like to see him maybe in that top 5. But this, in my mind, is a big feather in this young man's cap. 25 years old. This proves that he can mentally keep it together. You know how difficult it is, DJ, to start that far in the back and understand. He's only had one caution, plus 23 spots, all under, passing them on the racetrack. That, to me, shows this young man is maturing. He understands how to take care of his race car, take care of the tires. Listen, look, he's closing in on the 2 of Austin Dillon, our pole sitter. Spotted him 31 positions to start the race, and here we are at lap 121. He's closing in on our pole sitter.
Awesome performance.
Yeah, and I'm going to give him a break on, going this morning on a racetrack that he doesn't have a lot of experience on, trying to get your car right there, and then trying to qualify in the middle of the afternoon, as hot as it could be, on a very slick racetrack. I'm more impressed with what he's done here than thinking about that he had difficulties in qualifying. We've seen him do this a number of times this season, so it just shows the talent level that he has. And I really like the fact that you brought up the mentality of a young driver like this, being able to understand I can work my way there on a track that allows me to pass.
And he's able to display his diversity and his patience. Poole's last 4 top 10s were on tracks he had never raced on. He has got talent in abundance. Let's move one car ahead to the 2, and here's Marty Snyder.
And Diff, it's amazing to see the difference in Austin Dillon's car. Led the first part of this race, and after that bad pit stop, got back in traffic, and his car just will not turn in the center and loose off. So it's amazing the difference. The arrow back there as Brendan Poole goes around Austin Dillon right now, struggling once they have that bad pit stop in that 2 car.
Tell you what, if this 48 keeps going at the rate it's at, he might drive all the way to the front of this race.
I was thinking the exact same thing. You said that, and I looked down to his lap time. He's running top 5 lap times while passing race cars. It's not going to be long, and he's going to be past the 88 of Alex Bowman.
One thing I can see here with this car, and it's a field that I was fortunate enough to have a couple of times driving a race car here, as he goes back to the throttle, his car is actually rotating there to where he can drive straight off the corner, and that's where he's really beating people, is this car really launches off of turn 2 and turn 4, making up a lot of time.
Sometimes the best drive off, just getting your car pointed straight.
Boy, Chad Norris, his crew chief, would be loving this. Brennan Poole continues the surge. tomorrow night on NBCSN, Sprint Cup Series Racing here from Richmond. Telecast presented by Smithfield Foods, and most important time, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's when the coverage begins. Racing lap 132 of 250 here at Richmond International Raceway. And there is the race leader, the 18 JGR Toyota of Kyle Busch. His advantage over Eric Jones, 5.5 seconds. Time to go through the field, and we kick it off with Dave Burns. Dave?
And Lee, this now looks like a typical Kyle Busch night at Richmond. Lap all the way up through 10th position and is moving away from the field. You know, the first time he raced here in the Xfinity Series, he won. And it's been a short track love affair ever since. Marty?
We talked about Eric Jones, Dave, making some progress midway through this run. He said the car's gotten since then a little bit tight, but he keeps telling the guys the drive off that you made on the adjustment last stop has made this car so much better. The problem is his teammate is so far out front. Just not sure that Eric Jones can't go catch him. Behind him, Brad Keselowski in the 3rd position. He told the guys a moment ago, listen, the car has long run speed. I'm just trying to be smooth and take it easy. It's amazing the 22 team has 0 wins this year. Greg Irwin told me, listen, what we want to do, just know that we're making progress. That's what we want to see here on the 22 team, currently in 3rd, Mike.
Marty, in the early stages of this race, Justin Allgaier had a very well-balanced race car, felt pretty good about it, but that has gone away. He cannot get back to the throttle without the rear snapping loose. He's also concerned that he's burning the rear tires off the car, so much to the fact that he's adjusted the brake bias, trying to protect those rear tires and the rear brakes. They are not glowing at this point in time, but he's concerned about it. Meanwhile, behind him, Daniel Suarez on the move. He said the second half of the race would be the time when his car would shine. It has been very good, and the team needed this run too. They've been on a run of top 5s the last couple of races, but prior to that, they went through a very rough stretch. So much, in fact, that his crew chief, Scott Graves, said, hey, we lost our rhythm. We need to get it back before the chase. Kelly?
What a difference a year makes for Brennan Poole. Last year running a part-time schedule, this time as a full-timer. He says he has way more confidence running every week. His communication is better, which helps give his crew chief, Chad Norris, the tools to give him a fast car. And what a fast car he has tonight, up a whopping 25 places. He's been very quiet on the radio as he works his way through the field, Marty.
Kelly, the day here in Richmond started with an 8 a.m. Yes, 8 a.m. 2-hour practice for the Xfinity Series. Wasn't very popular in the garage area, except with one crew chief, Justin Alexander, because he told me he needs time with Austin Dillon, his driver. He said, you have to remember, this is just our 2nd race together, so anytime we get in practice helps us out. Still too tight in the center for Austin, just struggling with that car after leading early on. Alex Bowman is behind him. He said he just has 0 security getting in the corner and on corner exit as well. Dave Ellens promised, listen, we're going to make big changes on this next stop, including a track bar adjustment and a wedge adjustment and air pressure, trying to tighten that thing up for the 88, Kelly.
This is a hometown track for Elliott Sadler, who's from nearby Emporia, Virginia, and boy, would he love to get a win here. Maybe too much. His crew chief, Kevin Mendering, said maybe he tries just too hard, wants it too bad. He burned off the rear tires off the car in the spring, so they've come here with the purpose of trying to take care of that car right now. He's staying extremely tight through the middle and loose off, Diff.
Elliott Sadler-Kell runs in the 9th position and is in danger of going a lap down because here comes Kyle. Kyle Busch in the 18 now has his sights on that number one main financial junior motorsports machine of Elliott Sadler. Busch is just ripping his way through this field.
Yeah, just a torrid pace from once they got the green flag on the restart, he's just set sail and passing everybody wherever he catches them. He can run the bottom, he can run the middle. I've seen him pass cars and be up towards the top side of the racetrack too. So Elliott Sadler fighting to stay on the lead lap here. Kyle Busch is lapped all the way up to the 9th place car.
That opening green flag stint of 48 laps, Kyle Busch was buried in traffic and seemingly couldn't find a way out. A wonderful pit stop from JGR. He hasn't looked back. racing under the lights here in Richmond. And look at Kyle Busch. Yes, that's the 88 of Alex Bowman that he is going by. That is lapping the 8th place car. And we're starting to get into some green flag stops. We kick it off with Davo.
Wallace said, we're in the chase, let's go for it. Pit early, be on better tires sooner, run faster laps sooner. 10th place he gave up, track bar up ×2, round in the left rear, air pressure adjustment. It's big swing number 2 and big strategy gamble number 1 for the 6 car.
What do you think about that, Steve?
I like the idea. I think at this point where the 6 is at, they need to do something. They're a long ways over the bubble, so let's be aggressive. Kelly?
Ryan Reed, who started this race 17th, moved up to 11th, said that his car is just light in and loose off, so they're going to make an adjustment to help him out there, as well as those 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. Also, the one of Elliott Sadler, who has said that his car is extremely tight through the middle and loose off. You can see they're going to make a chassis adjustment. They've got the wrench in the car now, 4 tires and fuel as well for the 1. Meanwhile, the 3 of Ty Dillon just saying, I cannot roll the middle. I tried to put some wheel in it, and then the rear snaps around. It was 4 tires and fuel as well for the 3.
And his day of frustration began after a promising start in practice. Qualifying 18th was very uncharacteristic for Ty Dillon, and it has not been a happy experience. Bubble racer, Dakota Armstrong in. Dave?
Lee, he gave up 6 positions so far on this run with a free race car. So they're going to make a chassis adjustment. You see the wrench going in right there. 4 Goodyear tires and a fill of Sunoco fuel. Mike?
Okay, Blake Cook in protection mode, trying to protect his spot in the chase right now. Being conservative, the car was tight. Took 4 tires, fuel, and an air pressure adjustment, Marty.
Mike Alex Bowman coming to a stop in his stall. Here comes a big swing. We were talking about that a little while ago. They're going to make a track bar, wedge, and air pressure adjustment on this 88 car, trying to get it to tighten up a little bit. No security in or off the corner, Kelly.
Ryan Sieg, who's trying to secure his spot in the chase, said that he's a little loose, but his car is not too bad. He has been able to move forward after starting 19th.
Ryan Sieg still sitting in a very comfortable position, but he's got to watch it. He needs that solid result here tonight as Ross Chastain is in the 4. Dave?
Running 18th during this sequence, Lee. The wrench going in the rear window for him as well. His car was tight on this run, Mike.
Said Allgaier's car has not been as good this run. Felt like he was burning off the rear tires. They're going to make a 4-tire change, an air pressure adjustment as well. He's already adjusted the brake bias, trying to make that a little bit better. Meanwhile, Daniel Suarez already stopped. 4 tires and fuel there as well. He was a little bit loose in, tight center. Kelly.
And the big mover of this race, Brendan Poole now in the pits. As you can imagine, IUC's gotten stuck in his pit box, so this is going to be a long stop for the 48 as he had to back up to get around. We've got a caution out now. Brendan Poole, though, was happy with his car. No changes for the 48.
Oh, boy, frustration there. Boxed in by Brandon Brown, and that cost him valuable seconds.
Well, you see that tire loose on pit road, why that's a little bit dangerous. NASCAR's not going to throw a caution at this point, I think. Marty?
You see Brad Keselowski here on pit road. He said this car's a little bit tight in the short run, but on the long run, we're the fastest car, except for maybe that 48 car out there. No changes on that 22 car. All the way to the front of the pit road, Austin Dillon to the entry. Got better the longer they ran, but still way too tight in the center. They made a wedge adjustment and an air pressure adjustment, trying to loosen up that 2 car and get back where they were earlier. That's the lead.
Can't remember if Kelly referenced this during the Brendan Poole stop, but folks, if you hadn't noticed, Poole had made his way all the way up to 5th from 31st. 26 spots when he came in on that most recent pit stop cycle. Incredible performance. And the same can be said for this man here, Kyle Busch, who leads Eric Jones to the tune of 7.5 seconds and looks pretty unstoppable tonight in Richmond. Time to head to pit road for the 18 after a really dominant stint. He's led 106 laps. He's coming your way, Dave.
Remember, Lee, he talked about his car just being a bit snug, so the 18 will slide to a stop, hits his marks perfectly. He will get a chassis adjustment to work on that just a bit. Sunoco fuel, Goodyear tires going on. Crew working methodically. Remember, they won him positions on pit road before. Now it's about maintenance. Just a very slight chassis adjustment.
The The 18 serviced and sent. As we're inside the final 100 laps here in Richmond, Eric Jones, who inherited the lead briefly, brings his JGR Toyota to pit road. Marty standing by.
And Lee, after leading those 2 laps, Eric Jones does come to pit road. The Gibbs car is staying out longer than anyone here. And Eric said the car actually got pretty good the longer they ran. The drive off is what impressed him the most. They had talked about a chassis change. They have waved off that chassis change because he said it was a little too tight in the center during the middle part of that run, but happy with it on the 20 car. They're just so far behind their teammate Kyle Busch. That's why they're running in second right now.
It's the run. Hey, guys, we discussed this before. It's the run that Eric Jones has needed just to steady the ship, right?
Exactly. You know, just to get things right. And I think probably as much as anything for a young driver such as himself to get that confidence back in what he was doing early on that won those 3 races.
And bonus points aside, DJ, because you made that point at the top of the broadcast, but just to, he doesn't need a big confidence boost because he's a very confident young driver, a very skilled and talented young driver. But just to stabilize things, Steve, you know all too well by being the crew chief that you were, you want your driver in a good frame of mind heading into the chase.
You're doing that tire that was reported to get loose is still up against the exterior wall on the pit road side of that wall. You know, it's dangerous for somebody to go get it. Maybe NASCAR feels it's out of the way enough that during another caution, they'll go ahead and clean that up. So we're still under the green flag condition. Kyle Busch, though, very efficient on and off pit road. The big loser in that situation, though, 48 of Brendan Poole. We saw him get blocked into his pit stop. Kelly reported it, and it cost Brendan Poole 4 positions and a lot of time on the racetrack.
That wheel, that errant wheel, belongs to the 86 of Brandon Brown. Here you go. This is our first view of it as Brendan Poole has to almost do a 3-point turn around the 86, which cost him that valuable time. And look at this, Austin Dillon says, huh? What's going on here? Still under caution as the 88 of Alex Bowman, and he's not alone. You can see Elliott Sadler there in the 1 and the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Hit pit road. And we've been talking a lot tonight about the 48 of Brennan Poole, most notably because of his amazing run through the field. But what caught your eye here, Steve?
Well, the decision to pit or not pit. That yellow line with the orange box right there, the 48 takes a hard right to stay on the racetrack. If the 48 touches that orange box at the end of that line, he's then committed to pit road. That's a pit road commitment violation. NASCAR has a camera and an official down there to watch that sort of thing. We haven't heard anything on the radio, so NASCAR must have deemed that the 48 just missed that orange box, but it was close for you and I. We kind of held our breath a little there, DJ.
Let's listen to the radio from the 48.
Yeah, all good. 16 gets you the door, did he? No, I didn't hit anybody. And I think I missed the box, too, so I couldn't tell. It sounded like you said stay out. It come and then stay out, so I don't know. Simple. It's all good.
And nothing from NASCAR at this point.
Yeah, seems to be okay, so that's good. And so let's talk a minute about what those guys, we talked about some guys making earlier pit stops that had been lapped. Elliott Sadler in the 1, Ty Dillon in the 3, and the 88 of Alex Bowman. They pitted early enough that those tires that they had made up some ground, and they ended up back on the lead lap. So great decision to pit a little bit early and see if they could make up a little bit of time, and it worked out for them.
I can tell you that NASCAR Race Control is looking at the Brennan Poole situation. We'll have more on that in a moment.
And I know it doesn't seem like much, but you have, as we ride along here with Elliott Sadler getting a little cool drink of water, you know, we have Justin Allgaier, Alex Bowman, Elliott Sadler, Ty Dillon, Darrell Wallace Jr. all came to pit road for fresh tires. They are roughly 8 to 10 laps fresher than the leaders, depending on when they pitted under green. At most tracks, that might not mean much, but here at Richmond, those 10 laps are going to be worth some lap time. But remember, Lee, in the Xfinity Series, there's a tire limit. All these teams had 4 sets of tires in their pits. That basically means anyone who pitted right here now has 1 set. Anyone who stayed out right here as far as the leader has 2 sets. So with 81 to go, it really is going to depend on how many cautions and the timing of the cautions to decide whether this was a good decision or not for the second half of our lead lap cars.
Well, Marty was there to see the 88 of Alex Bowman pit on that last cycle. What else you got on the 88, Marty?
Well, Lee, here's the other point. They felt like they had to work on that 88 car, so they took a little bit of wedge out. The car's still loose for Alex Bowman. And Dave Ellens just told him, listen, we only gave up 2 spots to get 9-lap pressure tires. I think the gamble was worth it. That was Dave Ellens telling Alex Bowman that. So we'll see if that pays off the 9-lap pressure tires. Mike?
Well, it wasn't so much a gamble as it may have been a miscommunication on the 19 team. Crew Chief Scott Graves had called Daniel Suarez down pit road. It was kind of a late call after he saw Justin Allgaier come down pit road, wanted to take their cues from the 7 car. Suarez got the message too late, was not able to make it down pit road. So a missed opportunity there for the 19, Lee.
Mike, thank you. Time to take a look at tonight's Toyota driver update, which Daniel Suarez is one, of course, aboard the JGR Aris number 19. Kyle Busch having a phenomenal night, leading 117 laps. And Eric Jones, so 1, 3, and 4.
And Lee, we hear a lot about late calls from crew chiefs telling their drivers to pit. What I want everyone to understand is sitting up here in the booth, it seems simple to me when you need to tell your driver. Watching at home on television seems simple. But when you're on top of that pit box, you can't see the backstretch. You can't see the entrance of turn 3. And you have a million things going through your mind. Your spotter's talking to you, your driver's talking to you, your engineer's talking to you about what you should do. It's very easy to get a little distracted and give the information too late to your driver.
DJ, when you were in the cockpit, did you like things to be quite clear, or you didn't mind those last-minute reactions?
No, I preferred them to be a little more clear, but you knew you had to deal with that sometimes because they do have a tough job on top of the box.
Out of the restart zone, and Kyle Busch gets a nice restart. Eric Jones on the inside of the 22 of Brad Keselowski. Look at Brennan Poole, the blue and white 48. Poole down on the low side, and he's been cleared by NASCAR. There is no penalty. Watch that 48 fly.
Just behind him, that's the 7 car, the 1 car that have been on pit road to get some newer tires. We'll see if that's an advantage here or if it takes later run or a long run to make that work.
Nice move from Daniel Suarez as he gets by Brennan Poole. We've just had a report that the restart is under review.
Something about restarts in Richmond. This place is very difficult. It seems to get the restarts right. We've had issues here before. It's either the location of the box or the gearing, but this is not the first time we're going to be looking at restarts really for the entire weekend.
Look at this pack. Elliott Sadler, the 3 of Ty Dillon. Bubba Wallace coming through on the low side in the 6. Let's go back to the restart and let's take a look if we can see what NASCAR's... I'm going to say watch Keselowski on the outside there. Do they feel that he went before Kyle Busch did? Even though Kyle was always ahead getting out of the restart zone.
I mean, there's basically 3 major rules to the restart. The control car, the leader, has to maintain pace car speed when the pace car pulls off. He can't accelerate before he gets to the first line of the restart zone. And if you're the second place car, you have to allow the leader to fire off first. It looked to me that all of those happened, but we've only seen one replay of it. NASCAR's looking at it from much different angles, and we'll hear what they think about it here momentarily.
Yeah, it just seemed in watching there and seeing what transpired after that took place, it looked like maybe the 22 was going to fire a little bit before the 18, but as soon as he knew that, he had to get off the throttle a little bit, and that's when Kyle Busch took off and got a huge lead.
Look at these fresh tires paying dividends for Justin Allgaier and Ty Dillon. And just got word that the restart is clear. No problem there. NASCAR has said we have no issue.
But that's something new this year that NASCAR's been doing, is just allowing us to let the fans know. As the 7 moves the 48 off the bottom, he knows he has new tires. The 7 knows he needs to go, and it looks like he's going to be overtaken by the 3 because of it. But NASCAR kind of lets us know, hey, we're taking a look at this just so you guys know. You can tell the fans at home. That way, if there is a penalty, no one is caught completely off guard.
It's the new tire gang here all together. Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier. Ty Dillon now has a shot at Brennan Poole and is more effective than Allgaier was.
Yeah, how about Ty Dillon? He was lapped and not looking like that. He was much better than just a 10th place race car. They come in, got new tires on it, made a little more adjustment for Ty Dillon, now inside the top 5.
And what Brennan Poole right here, the only thing he can do is just pay attention, not damage his race car. He's behind on tires. He can't do anything from the driver's seat. But what would work out perfect for him? 5 or 10 more laps and a caution, because I don't think the leaders could put their tires on at this point, or these cars that have pitted are not going to put on their last set. Brennan Poole has an extra set compared to these cars that just came off pit road.
JGR teammates are 1 and 2. Kyle Busch boasts a just under a 2-second advantage over Eric Jones. Meanwhile, Allgaier and Poole going at it again. High side for the 7 this time, and he's able to clear Brennan Poole. Austin Dillon now is lining up for a shot at the Chip Ganassi Racer. After an amazing opening half of this race, it's time to go non-stop. Back in a moment. Sunday night football is live from Glendale, Arizona, where the Patriots visit the Cardinals. Coverage begins with Football Night in America at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC. Stevie, you worried with your man Tom Brady not being there for the first four?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and say it's a slam dunk win, but I think it's going to be a great game, and I will be tuned in at 8:30 to watch my beloved Patriots try to travel across the country for win one of the season.
DJ, what happened to my Carolina Panthers last night?
Yep, you got to make field goals.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, our aerial coverage tonight provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. We say thank you for views like this. With just 62 laps to go from Richmond International Raceway, looking at the Virginia 529, college savings $250. Here on your home of motorsport, NBCSN, and yes, that is Kyle Busch boasting almost a 3-second advantage over Eric Jones. This is the bounce back that Kyle Busch was looking for after two miserable results in his last two NASCAR Xfinity Series races.
So DJ, I want to know, as a race leader, 61 to go, Kyle Busch has a 2.7-second lead. How hard is he running? At a track that tires matter, is he just managing his lead? Is he talking to his crew chief? What are you doing if you're the race leader? You know, we know tires fall off here.
Yeah, managing tires right now, because he's already seen a long green flag run, longer than what it would take to get to the end of this race for him. So he's managing. He knows that, as his teammate Eric Jones back there, he was told earlier that the 20 car may be a little bit better on a longer run, so he knows that he needs to take care of his tires just a little bit more. If he can keep a 2.5-second gap, he'll be just fine right there.
The 42 Chip Ganassi racer Justin Marks has seen a little too much action tonight for his liking. We want to take you back a few minutes ago and check this out with the 42. There is Justin, the Mid-Ohio winner.
Yeah, this replay here is not saving rear tires. You do not want to hurt your rear tires. You see the 42 runs a little bit high up off the racetrack, tries to get in the throttle, and the car just rotates, and that is an impressive slide in a very slippery area of the racetrack on the exit of turn 4.
Hey, he did a little bit of that at Mid-Ohio, right?
He did, but it was raining. It was raining there, but it was great to see him in victory lane, though, the emotion of what that win meant for that young man. That's what racing is all about. We saw it with Kyle Larson at Michigan. We saw it with Justin Marks at Mid-Ohio.
And for those of you who have enjoyed the GoPro Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina, wonderful go-kart facility, that's Justin Marks' place. That's your man. As we look at the 3 fighting the 1, we check in with Kelly.
And that 3 car of Ty Dillon that's now in a bit of a battle with Elliott Sadler, but boy, has that 3 car come to life. Ty finished second here back in April, so they're feeling very optimistic about their car and the setup that they brought here, especially after practice. But then when they qualified 18th, Ty was kind of scratching his head when I talked to him just before the race. I kind of asked him how his car was, and he just said, I'm really not sure what to expect. Well, they struggled through the majority of this race, but a couple of stops ago, they came in and made some adjustments. Ty saying, whatever you did, you fixed the car. He's been on the move, started 18th right now, trying to hold on to that spot in the top 5.
Yeah, we've seen him run a different line than most anybody else, other than Brendan Gaughan's been up there a little bit a couple of times. And he's made it work, especially down in turns 3 and 4, right up against the wall. And he's making some pretty decent time. These 2 drivers were catching the 19 of Daniel Suarez until they got racing side by side, and then it's kind of stabilized then.
You know, this has been a remarkable turnaround for the 3, because Ty Dillon only spent 10 laps in the top 10 in the first half of this race. And in an amazing twist and turn of fortunes, DJ, his brother Austin, who started on the pole, is now down there in 8th, and Ty, who started 18th, is up there doing good stuff, and he got into the wall.
Yeah, a little rub there off of turn 2. He's trying to get a little bit too much, see if that allows Elliott Sadler to be able to complete this pass. Now it looks like he's going to be able to take that 5th spot away.
This is a good scrap going on here, and Justin Allgaier wants to buy into it as well. Remember that all 3 of these drivers we're seeing, they're confirmed. They're locked in to the NASCAR Xfinity Series chase, which begins in Kentucky in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, and these 3 drivers, the fresh tires helped them some, but I think the opportunity to go in and make some more adjustments to their race car has probably been as beneficial, if not more so, to them being able to charge back into the top 5 as Elliott Sadler has done.
Let's relive that moment for the Bass Pro Shops number 3, Ty Dillon. back at Richmond, under the lights on a Friday night with just 45 laps to go, and that is music to Kyle Busch's ears. He's got a 2.8 second lead over his teammate Eric Jones and is cruising out in front. However, not quite as glamorous at the front, but a little further back is Ryan Sieg. He's running 14th, but more importantly than that, Ryan is doing everything he needs to do to make the NASCAR Xfinity Series chase. He's sitting in that all-important 12th and final transfer position, and he's in fact grown his advantage over Dakota Armstrong with these final 43 laps, so he's doing everything that he needed to do.
Yeah, he's right there in 14th. Blake Cook running 15th. Both those drivers 11th and 12th spots where they are as far as the chase goes, doing their job just in front of Dakota Armstrong here in the 28 car.
And just a reminder, only one regular season race to go for the NASCAR Xfinity Series competitors. Meanwhile, there's a great scrap going on here between Daniel Suarez, who's in 4th, Elliott Sadler, Steve, who has been the biggest mover since pitting to put on those fresh tires. He's made up 4 positions. He's trying to make it 5.
Yeah, and Elliott Sadler, I think, has been trying to work around this 19, but he sees the mirror, and that 7 car is full of it, as you see.
Keep coming, got one outside.
Some movement with the lap cars. The one does get by the 19, and he needed to because Justin Allgaier, his teammate, also with fresher tires, is trying to catch the 1.
Keep this in mind. Elliott Sadler is 8.8 seconds behind Kyle Busch. There are 41 laps to go, and if this goes green to the end, could Sadler win back-to-back races, and could he do it in his home state of Virginia? We'll find out. Next Saturday on NBC, the last race before the Xfinity Series starts their playoffs, Chicagoland Speedway. We mentioned that a little earlier. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern. The same applies here tomorrow night, Stevie, for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. I know you're pretty pumped up for that.
Super excited. We've talked about the bubble all night long with these Xfinity drivers. Well, this is the cutoff race tomorrow night for the Sprint Cup. We got a great battle between Ryan Newman, Jamie McMurray. Chris Buescher has to stay in the top 30. Tons of storylines. Who will be in the chase? It'll be decided tomorrow night.
Time to go through the field, and Dave Burns is going to get us started. Dave-O?
Lee, in his Xfinity career, Kyle Busch rebounded to get the win in his following start. 4 of the last 5 times he failed to finish in the top 10. 4 of the last 5. That other one, this year, had a horrible finish of 37th at Watkins Glen, 24th at Bristol. Now he's looking for the W, Marty.
Dave, Eric Jones in second told me I just want to regain some momentum after the last month and a half with the 20 team. The next 2 weeks, we can finish top 5 right now, accomplishing that goal. The one race he's worried about in the chase, the first one, Kentucky. He said right now the car, the tightest has been all evening long. He calls it a 4 tight on a 1 to 10 scale. Behind him, Brad Keselowski. They asked him a moment ago, hey, how's the car compared to those Gibbs cars? Here's what he had to say on the radio.
That's okay. Don't have as much speed as they have.
Very short and succinct from Brad Keselowski, who said on the short run, they just get so far away from me. We're pretty good on the long run, but by the time I get there, they're gone. Kelly?
Elliott Sadler said his phone has been ringing off the hook since his big win at Darlington last week. The only thing that could top that, a win here on his home track here in Virginia. But he's one of those drivers that took advantage to get some fresh tires during that last caution, and he's been on the move, up 5 positions since the restart, Mike.
Kelly, earlier this week, Justin Allgaier sat down with his crew chief, Justin Burdett, and had a very candid conversation. One of the topics, how to handle pressure with poise. They've handled it tonight. There was a run midway through this race where the car was awful. He was poised behind the wheel, and he's in position now to potentially get a top 5. Kelly?
Ty Dillon is locked into the chase, so their focus now getting him a win. It would be his first since he won at the Brickyard back in 2014, and his crew chief saying, hey, maybe it gives us some extra motivation. Maybe some of those guys that already have wins this year have kind of come to rest on their laurels. Not this team. He said it's lit a fire under us. Ty Dillon now running 6th. Barty?
Kelly just checked in with Justin Alexander, the crew chief for his brother Austin Dillon, and he said, man, that was not a good decision for us not to pit because clearly those tires, meaning the team that took tires past us, we've been struggling on the old tires back here. He said, actually, the car has not been that bad this run. We just need a little track condition to get back up front, Mike.
Marty, Daniel Suarez in a similar position. He did not pit either on that last caution, so the last time he came down pit road was lap 152, suffering the consequences now of old tires, and also he was concerned if they had enough fuel to go the distance. For him, it's a good thing. Scott Graves told him they are good to the finish. Lee?
And Mike, that new tire advantage that Elliott Sadler was displaying earlier, and while he's climbed to 4th, remember I gave you that time check of 8.8 seconds? Well, now with 27 to go, it's grown to 11.3 seconds from race leader Kyle Busch to 4th place Elliott Sadler. That's plateaued, if not gone backwards. So, and the other thing swinging in the favor of the race leader Kyle Busch, when he has led 100 laps or more here at Richmond, he has never lost an Xfinity Series race. And he's led 171 tonight.
You see right there, Joe Gibbs Racing finished 1-2-6 times this season, and right now you mentioned the lead that Kyle Busch had over 4th. Well, he has 5.5 seconds over his teammate Eric Jones in 2nd, who then has about 3.5 seconds over Brad Keselowski in 3rd. So both Joe Gibbs, well, 2 of the 3 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyotas in tonight's race easily running 1st and 2nd. Suarez struggling a little bit back in 8th.
We're going to go non-stop, so you won't miss a thing as Kyle Busch is driving towards victory. 25 to go. Racing to the finish here under the lights on a Friday night in Virginia at Richmond International Raceway. You're looking at Daniel Suarez there running in the 8th position, Alex Bowman in the 88, and then the 48 of Brennan Poole of Chip Ganassi Racing. We've documented Brennan's amazing run through the field. This is going to be one of those races, DJ, where he says, remember that night in Richmond when I made up 26 positions from 31st to 5th, as high as he got. He was not one of those cars, Steve, that stopped for fresher tyres, and he's kind of paid the price.
Well, I think he's actually going to look back on this night and want to know how it got away, because at one point it looked like he had maybe at least the second best car, maybe not quite as good as Kyle Busch, but just a few mishaps, got blocked in on pit road under green, and then choosing not to pit here, running in the 10th position. But remember, Lee, 5 of the last 8 races here have had a caution in those final 20 laps. We've seen it here before with only 16 to go. It'd only take one time caution and all of this can turn.
Let's go back behind these guys, and I'm talking about positions 11, 12, and 13 for Roush Fenway Racing. It's Ryan Reed in 11th, Bubba Wallace in 12th, and Gray Goulding in the 60 is running 13th. Started 11th, running 13th. Fabulous effort.
He's doing a nice job. Very solid. This is a very talented young man. I've had a lot of people talk to me about the talent that he has running around the country in different forms of cars. Just very solid here. Hasn't done anything spectacular. Hasn't been a part of the issue. Just been very, very solid and doing a good job. I'm just waiting on my donuts. I'm hungry now.
Let's talk more about the 60. Here's Marty.
Donuts are on the way, DJ. Don't worry. And he said he's been struggling with a car that's been tight in the middle for much of the evening. Drew Blickensturfer, former Cup Series crew chief, helping this race team out. He said, "This is a tough job for me because I didn't build this race car. I'm kind of just pinch hitting as a crew chief for this race team. But my goal for him tonight, complete all the laps. He's not going to quite do that. 2 laps down right now, but a nice effort by the 60 bunch with a team that's kind of put together in the last couple of weeks."
And only his second start to qualify just outside the top 10. Did make it through to that final round of qualifying. Did a really nice job. So, left-hand side of your screen with 13 to go, Kyle Busch has led 184 laps. But we've seen in the past, and Steve raised this just a few moments ago, anything can happen late in the race here in Richmond under the lights. Well, it wasn't under the lights, but earlier the year in the spring. Do you remember this? What went down with just 7 laps to go? Look at car number 7 and look at the 48 of Brennan Poole as Allgaier comes down. They touch. See you later. And the 88 of Dale Jr. goes through. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the right place at the right time to take the lead and go on and win the race. For Allgaier, that was one that got away. 11 to go for Kyle Busch.
Yeah, we've just seen too many of these races for something to happen, especially with the long green flag run like this. We talk about the use of the brakes for a lot of drivers. What can happen in a long run is you melt the bead and you get a flat tire. So a lot of things can happen at this point in time, and close racing like what we're seeing with Daniel Suarez and Alex Bowman right there can create a caution also.
Just 2 cautions for 14 laps tonight thus far, as Kyle Busch now goes into the final 10 laps of this race.
And we really need to go back. The turning point of this race, we need to remind everyone,
that
the first pit stop.
Yeah, exactly.
The 18 was only in the 4th position. We had around 50 laps. He had only gotten up to the 4th position. His pit crew got him out first. Kyle has done everything right since then, but he didn't even have to drive to the lead. His pit crew handed it to him. So a full team effort so far tonight with the 18. With 8 to go, we'll see if they can close it out.
The leader of those first 48 laps was Austin Dillon. His pit stop was 3 seconds slower than Kyle Busch's. Just shows what drama they had at the RCR camp and what a great job they did at JGR to get the 18. He won that race off pit road and has not looked back. You mentioned about Brennan Poole earlier, Steve, about the one that got away. What must Austin Dillon be thinking?
Yeah, definitely not the race he was looking for. Such a promising start, now currently in the 7th position.
Brad Keselowski is stable in 3rd, and he said kind of, you could describe it as a quiet night. Sits behind Eric Jones, and then Elliott Sadler is in a comfortable 4th place. looks like staying there. He's got a little gap behind and in front. Justin Allgaier as well in 5th.
Yeah, the only thing, and I don't think that Sadler has enough speed right now, but because the 22 has struggled a little bit in traffic, he's cut that margin down for that 3rd spot between Sadler and Justin Allgaier right there with Elliott Sadler. So if the two of them could catch the traffic right, they might get to the 22 of Brad Keselowski, but probably not.
What a year it has been for Joe Gibbs Racing. So if indeed Kyle does go on to win this one, just racking up another one. They'll be 5 away from their own record. Incredible. And for the effort, Kyle Busch, for Daniel Suarez, who got his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series win earlier this year, for Eric Jones, who's racked up 3. Really incredible performance.
And there's so many things that can go wrong. To think that you can dominate that and win that many races is impressive, because I know Kyle Busch makes it look easy, but DJ, you know as well as I, it is not. There are a lot of opportunities to make mistakes, and this 18 car and really all of Joe Gibbs Racing has just been very efficient, really in all aspects.
Well, they just have such a tremendous organization, from the very top down to everything else that it takes to make this happen. The drivers are very much involved, but they, the pit crews that you talked about that put Kyle Busch out front, that doesn't come by accident. They have a great program there for training their pit crews. They're the best on the Cup side, and they do a tremendous job and are great here week in and week out in this Xfinity Series. They give their drivers the very best things to work with, and the drivers go out and get the job done.
And Lee coming to the white flag. I'm not sure the 18 of Kyle Busch has any interest in catching these late lap cars of the 16 of Ryan Reed and the 48 of Brendan Poole. I'm sure he'll be happy to finish right behind him with the race
back no matter what.
3/4 of a mile to go, and Kyle Busch will see that checkered flag first. What a turnaround. We told you right at the top of the broadcast, when he fails to finish inside the top 10, he typically turns it around and comes back to win. At Watkins Glen, it was a frustrating 37th place finish. At Bristol, it was an annoying 24th. Well, he has bounced back to win in Richmond. Kyle Busch does it. 14th win of the season for Joe Gibbs Racing. And that was a dominant performance. 197 of the 250 laps led.
Way to keep the faith. You know what I mean?
Way to keep the faith is the call.
Man, I never would have guessed that, Gale. I appreciate it, buddy. Nice job, guys. Great pit stop. Awesome.
Great pit stop is exactly what got it done. Teamwork, that's the difference. And the JGR gang got Kyle Busch out in front of the field. The driver of the 18 never looked back.
And I think what they're talking about, we saw them in practice this morning. They were struggling a lot of practice. He scraped the wall. They had to repair that a little bit. Didn't look like they had the speed that they normally do, but the track wasn't what it was going to be tonight. Then later in qualifying efforts, he scraped the wall again off of turn 2 a little bit. You can see it didn't do much damage and certainly didn't hurt their chances. But Chris Gale's so good at anticipating what his driver here needs for these races and does a great job of giving him that.
And do you think that's what Chris was alluding to by saying well done?
Yeah.
Well done for keeping the faith.
Yeah.
They may not have started the best way, but we finished it.
Yeah, and that's why Chris Gale's going on and going to be a Cup crew chief for Eric Jones next year at Furniture Row.
And this is going to be a cool shot to go on the wall of Joe Gibbs Racing. Kyle Busch taking the Xfinity checkered flag with those silver numbers on that car, celebrating the 25th anniversary of Joe Gibbs Racing.
It was 25 years ago that was started. Our first race, I was the first driver there in 1992. We had less than 25 employees. Jimmy Makar was hired to put it all together and run it. Jimmy Makar still there as a part of Joe Gibbs Racing, a huge part of Joe Gibbs Racing, but has been there. He was the very first hire for Joe Gibbs Racing. So to think what that was, and you talk about over 450 employees there now, it's just incredible.
And the juggernaut that it is in both NASCAR Sprint Cup and Xfinity competition is amazing. So Rowdy does it. Kyle Busch wins under the lights on a Friday night. Some great short track racing, and that is Kyle's 6th win here in the Xfinity Series competition at Richmond. What a race, what a win. So one race down, one to go. Tomorrow night on NBCSN, Sprint Cup Series racing from Richmond. Telecast presented by Smithfield Foods. And coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern. Remember, it's that all-important final race in the regular season to determine who will be in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Let's check in with Marty.
And let's check in with Eric Jones, who winds up finishing second tonight. Boy, your teammate had the same exact setup as you had in your race car. Is that just experience behind the wheel with Kyle that was the difference?
Yeah, for sure. You know, it shows, and it's unfortunate. You know, we want to win, and I feel like we had a car that could do it, just not against Kyle in the 18. So overall, the DeWalt Flexible Camry is good, and that's a big stride for me at this racetrack. It's never been one of my strong suits a few times I've been here, so I feel like I made a lot of gains personally and figured out a lot of things about this track. Hopefully it'll help next year some, but nice to get back on track and get a little momentum here, you know, 1 week before we get going to the chase.
Lee.
And Marty, that was exactly the race that Eric Jones needed just to stabilize things. Time to go to Victory Lane. That's where we find Dave Burns. Dave?
There he is for the 6th time in the Xfinity Series at Richmond. And just when the field thought they had you down, how'd you do it again?
Man, I don't know. I was down to begin with, you know. Never give up, I guess. You know, just keep going, keep working, and keep doing what we can do. It's obviously an awesome job by my crew chief, Chris Gale, and he got a promotion this week, so these guys are going to be celebrating with him pretty hard, you know, these next few weeks that we have left this season. So true testament to everyone on this NOS Energy Drink Camry. This Toyota was awesome today, so can't thank NOS enough, Toyota, XFINITY, and NASCAR, of course, the fans as well. We appreciate their support here on a Friday night. It's fun to come out here, race in Richmond, and we got Kroger on board with, and also Miller Oil for our convenience partners this weekend, so it's special for them to be in Victory Lane, especially with the blue and orange. But if anybody wants to go get one of these bad boys, head on over to 7-Eleven. They're on shelves now. The old Rowdy NOS. It's going to be a new flavor, so tell me what you think. Tweet, Facebook, whatever, let me know. And it's going to be pretty awesome, but great night.
So where did that little bit of doubt with crew chief Chris Gale come from?
Oh, I didn't doubt Chris Gale. I just doubted our car today. You know, it just wasn't right. We just kind of missed it all through practice, and it wasn't good there. And then we qualified, and man, it was just a handful in qualifying. We didn't qualify very well, and 7th. You know, it's not very well for my expectations. But you know, again, we just worked on it. There, at the start of the race, we were really out of control and loose, and I got to 4th. But I thought that's kind of where we were going to be. But then my guys had an awesome pit stop, got me out front. Chris Gale made some really smart adjustments to it there that first time on pit road, and after that it was lights out, man. It was on a rail from there, so felt really, really good, and obviously it was a good day for our teammate as well too, Eric behind us, so you know, good one too.
High expectations met and exceeded once again at Richmond.
And turned the day around. Let's have a look at the chase standings, and I can tell you that Ryan Reed, it's mission accomplished. He has got enough points to lock himself in. That means with only one race to go in the Xfinity Series regular season, that's at Chicagoland, 2 spots are up for grabs. It's all to play for.
Yeah, but it's going to be tough. Watching Blake Cook and Ryan Sieg here tonight do their jobs, finish ahead of the other drivers that are sitting there trying to gain on them. That was outstanding work. They did exactly what they needed to do. Sieg in 14th, Blake Cook in 15th. There's going to be a tough bye.
Yeah, and I think what is going to be disappointing for Dakota Armstrong is he outran Ryan Sieg, and he actually lost points to him at the end of the night. He had such a promising night going, but in the end, when the points get counted, what matters is the last lap. And as you mentioned, Ryan Sieg seems like a veteran, just patiently worked all 250 laps to extend that points lead over the cup.
And it's so exciting for the Xfinity Series competitors to have a chase for the first time. Thanks so much for watching. Time now to go to the post-race show. We send it over to Chris DeVota, Kyle Petty, and Jeff.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.